Alright, y'all, so I went to Eucharistic Adoration today, and I just want to talk to y'all, just reflect or whatever. I don't got anything written or anything, so my bad if this is like all over the place. Yeah. But anyways, so I was reading this one book. It's called, what's it called actually? Beautiful Eucharist. It's called Beautiful Eucharist. And so I was reading that while I was in the Lord's presence and everything. And one of these sentences in that book stood out to me. So it's a point to ponder on page 39. It says, every problem you face can be solved by Jesus' presence. Invite him to participate in the events of your life. And yo, like, that's so real. That's so real. Because I remember back in the day, yo, I was like, so like I grew up in a Catholic household. Okay? Like I'm Mexican, you know what I'm saying? So that was that, but it's not like we read the Bible or anything. Like, yeah, we went to church on Sundays and stuff. We did the sacraments like baptism, first communion, confirmation, all that type of stuff, and etc. But it wasn't even anything like, oh, read the Bible, this, that, you know. I didn't know about adoration until I got to college and stuff, and the Stations of the Cross and stuff. I didn't know about the Latin Mass until I went to college. Like, you know, it was one of those things. So I felt a little bit more like I was a cultural Catholic. To an extent, I mean, my parents are still pretty Catholic still, but I don't know. I just felt like it was more culture, at least growing up. That's what it felt like. And so, yeah. And so it was more like I don't know what to call it, like almost like a childish kind of relationship with God. Like, yeah, I would go to Him at night and just pray and be like sad. Whenever I was sad, actually, I would go to God and I would just be like talking to Him, and I just felt like, oh my goodness, I remember I would feel like God like giving me a hug and stuff like that every time that I felt sad, and that made me feel better. Anyways, and then there was a lot of stuff that was going on. Like, I don't know, I just got really confused, and I don't think there was like, I didn't have like the best people to guide me about what I was learning and trying to process it and stuff like that. Because there would be things like that I would be like, yo, what's going on? Like, this is obviously wrong. Like, the whole situation with like priests abusing children and stuff. And I obviously wasn't okay with that. And then there was other stuff like the forced, what is it called? I don't even know how to say it. Like, basically when the Spanish came over to Las Americas, and they basically like forced the indigenous community to become Catholic and stuff. Like, I wasn't cool with that. I was like, what's going on? Especially when I read the very specific graphic stuff. Like, I was like, yo, these people aren't, like, they're being weird. Like, they aren't who they say they are. But that's what I should have been thinking. They aren't who they say they are, like hypocrites. But instead, I was like, this is the whole Catholic Church. Like, this is the reality of the Catholic Church. This is the truth. They're okay with this type of stuff. But in reality, they're not. They're not, only because the people in it are representing in a wrong way. It doesn't mean that at the end of the day, the Catholic Church itself is saying that this is okay and condoning it. But I was just like confused anyway. And then Jesus himself, I should have looked at what Jesus was doing. He wasn't sinning. He wasn't saying it's okay for priests to be doing this. He wasn't okay with a lot of things that people like the whole like Bible. If I read the Bible, yo, but if I read the Bible right the way that I should have, I would have understood that Jesus kept telling the rabbis and stuff, like, stop being hypocrites. That was my whole issue. So I had the same issue as Jesus, because the people weren't representing his church, the Lord's, you know, religion at the time, before Christ came, the right way. They weren't representing it the right way. So, yo, it's just crazy. So I was just thinking about that and stuff. So a lot of things basically made me like move away from the Catholic Church, and those are just a few things, but there's a ton more. But once I turned like, so at first it was like, yo, let me just not be like religious. Let me just not be religious. Alright, I'll still believe in Jesus and God, etc. But then you think about the fundamental questions that is like, well, if the Catholic Church or the church religion in general is, like Christianity in general is talking about Jesus Christ, maybe they just invented Jesus Christ and God and stuff. So then I ended up getting to that point that I was an atheist. I was like, yeah, nah, God isn't real, and etc. etc. And then, I mean, in school, they always tell us, like, they don't tell us, but in school, it's very, like, focused on science and stuff. And there's never a connection with, like, religion and stuff. They don't really emphasize it, which is crazy because the person that came up with the Big Bang Theory was a Catholic priest. But anyways, but yeah, so I was just like, science is the way to go, even though it wasn't explicitly like, oh, science is the truth, science is like this. Like it became almost like a religion in a way, because like if you don't have faith in God, you turn to other things. And I basically was like, well, science is the stuff that could tell me the answers. You know what I'm saying? And when I was thinking about it like that, I was like, well, everybody just dies and then they just become dirt. So it was a really depressing thing for me to think about that. I was like, I was starting to get these existential questions, and it gave me so much anxiety, yo. Like I remember thinking, like, what's the point of what I'm doing? Like, what about people? Like, they could hurt me and it wouldn't even matter. Like, it would just be like whatever. Like, it just happened to be the thing like what it was and stuff. So it just made me feel like so weird. Like, it just, things just didn't matter because we were all just gonna end up being dust anyway, and morals are just like, I couldn't articulate it very well, but it did feel like morals were just subjective, like ideas and preferences or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, how could I prove it? Especially like not being able to articulate. Sometimes we people, like, we know the right thing, but we can't articulate it too. So when I feel like I couldn't articulate myself, or science couldn't prove something or whatever, I just felt like it was just wrong. You know, and then especially in a world where like people around you, like there's these like ideas that people have, um, and they become like the norm, even though you know in your heart deep down that it's wrong. Like, there was things that were being normalized that were just so weird, yo. Like, and it just made me so sad, because then I was like, well, maybe I just have to conform to stuff that was hurting me, and then I was living this like sinful life, especially when it comes to like boys and stuff like that. Like, it would just be really bad type of stuff like that, and it just hurt me more, thinking that I just had to conform to like these weird boys that would just like play me and use me and blah blah blah. You know what I'm saying? And then I would just be like, yo, that's crazy. Like, you know, like this is the best that it could get anyway, because everybody around me was being weird. Like, you know what I'm saying? And then it felt like, well, especially when I was like dating people and I was being atheist and stuff. Like, I was like, well, at the end of the day, like, I don't know, I would just gaslight myself too into thinking like this is the best that it could get and stuff like that. But now that's not the best that it could get. Like, yo, what? But if I just had hope. But it's really hard to have hope when you don't ground yourself in anything but science and logic, because then the society around you, it normalizes so many things, makes it seem like that's the norm, and that's the, not the good thing, but the best thing, because there's nothing better around you. You know what I'm saying? That's how it felt like to me. I don't know if that even makes sense, but that's how I was kind of thinking about it. Like, there's probably more that I could say, like, deeper on it, but that's somewhat to the best of my ability for right now, since it's quick and I'm just reflecting without fully, like, writing a script or thinking too deeply about it. Like, that's kind of the best explanation I can give right now, as I'm trying to reflect on it right now. But, yeah. And so it was really sad. And then once I got into, like, the faith again, and this time I'm a devout Catholic now, but as I was processing on my way, I started attending Mass again. It felt so weird, yo. It actually did feel so weird, because I went back to church, the Mass, and I was at university at the time. And I was like, yo. Because, like, what the priest was saying, the priest always says something good, yo. They always say something wholesome. And I feel like I took it for granted before, but like this time when I came back, I was like, yo, I feel like he's talking to me. Like, I feel like my heart was being healed. Like, he was saying stuff, like stuff about good morals, good values, stuff you don't see in your at least in at the time where I was, like, stuff you don't really see in your everyday life. Like, everybody's out here trying to be promiscuous and using each other and making it seem like it's okay and stuff, and like that's all it could be. And I'm gonna say something specific actually, like, about that. Like, there would be like guys that would say like, oh, you have to like have sexual intercourse or be sexual with your partner, or else they're gonna leave you and stuff like that, or you're not gonna last. Like, that stuff is so much pressure, yo. Like, it makes me, like, at the time it really did make me feel like an object. Like, oh well, if I did do stuff, then I would feel weird about it because I know that it just feels like I'm doing it like as a transaction, like you stay with me and then I do this. But then if I don't do stuff, I'm always anxious thinking that the person I'm with is gonna leave me. So it was just like crazy. So anyway, so that's like an example of the stuff, especially with boys that I was talking about and stuff. But then when I went to the church and stuff, like it would be stuff about good values, you know, just I don't even remember exactly what it was about, but I was just like, yo, this is it. This is good morals, good values stuff that I feel like is like legit. And then I mean, it's a little like it's a little not fully regarded like the Catholic Church, but then I also started changing like my Instagram feed, the stuff that I would listen to and stuff, the music that I would consume. Like I started listening to people like Candace Owens, and she's always talking about, you know, good values in terms of like what women and men should do. Yes, I disagree with her on a lot of things, but the stuff she was saying, like yeah, like a lot of stuff is like legit, and it gives me like it gave me hope. And then the Catholic Church like representing those values too. And I mean, my mom would always say like wait until marriage to have intercourse anyway, and be sexual with your partner because that should only be like a thing for your husband anyway or your wife. But it was just hard for me because I was like, yo, mom, like you grew up back in the day, like in a small town, like everybody was a virgin, and now this is out here, this is the trenches, yo. That's what I felt like. I was like, yo, mom, you don't understand. Like I didn't really talk to her about that type of stuff, but that's how I felt. So I just felt like, yo, I don't know. So it was just crazy. And what was I even saying? Anyways, basically, people like Candace Owens, like God put those people in my life, even though I still disagree with her on a lot of things. And then like going back to mass and stuff, and like hearing the good values and messages, like the gospel. The gospel is the good news, yo. The good news. That's what I'm talking about, yo. I don't know, just like knowing that it's the good news. It's like, yo, it really was good news for me. Like smacked me straight in the face, gave me some common sense, or some. It's not even common sense, yo, because people's common sense is just normalized to be messed up and weird. But you know what I'm saying? Like it was just what is supposed to be normalized, what is supposed to be good, these good values and stuff. Anyways, yeah. And then I mean, at first it was weird because I was like trying to talk to God and stuff, like how I used to when I was younger, right? And it just didn't. At first it felt weird because I just felt like I was talking to the wall or the air or something. But you just keep going at it, you keep going at it, and then I got the relationship, not just to that level, that like childhood level, but now it's on a whole different level, yo. Like he's gotten me through things that it's crazy. Like I had major like anxiety and stuff. Like I remember one time I went to the ER. Oh my goodness, it's so bad. And it was just like, yo, this lady was like I told her I have like anxiety like every day and stuff, like these panic attacks and stuff. And she was like, yo, you should be on medicine. Yo, ain't nobody trying to be on medicine. Get out my face. Sorry, I'm just like I don't like taking medicine unless it's like that's super necessary. But anyway, that's what I was thinking still. But it was like so bad, yo. And then it was just sad. It was a sad life. And then at once, like I was like, yo, I just at the time I felt like, yo, there's no way for me to get rid of this anxiety. Now, yo, God is healing me like, oh my goodness. Like I even went to therapy and stuff before. First of all, the people that were my therapists, they didn't share my same values. And it was also when I was transitioning back into the Catholic faith, so it actually made it worse, if anything. So yeah, there was that. And I'm sure there's good therapists out there that could share your values, like good values, I should say, because if you're in sinful ways, you don't want to share the same values. Just go with good values, people with good values, and let them, you know, take that stuff away from you. You know, anyways, back to what I was saying. So yeah. God was the best therapist, and he's still at work. But now it's like, yo, after that too, after I came back into the Catholic Church, now I'm a devout Catholic. It's like I've gone through stuff that was really bad and like really hurtful and stuff, and I was just like, yo, like it was really painful. But God, I just felt like God was always there, like in my heart, like you know, I just always felt so like full, like so like I don't even know if joy is the right word because you're going through pain, but I just felt lighter than if I had just gone through it by myself. You know what I'm saying? Like I just always felt like this comfort. It's like it feels like a huge hug, even if you're going through like the worst thing possible. Like literally, think about your worst fears. Like that, my worst fears. I know right now my worst fears come to to reality, I know that God would actually still be there, and I would be able to get through it, and it would be me and Him and getting through it. But we would get through it, and it would feel like less of a burden than if I was just carrying my cross by myself. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. Anyways, I just wanted to reflect on that. There was a lot more that I was thinking about, but hopefully I get through more of these. Yo, I just be out here slacking. I be scared. I be trying to be a perfectionist, that too. But if I just do some of these, like maybe I'll be more consistent. Just like come on here and like just talk. But yeah. Anyways, I hope that y'all have a good day. See ya.